Hello everyone, welcome to the new tutorial for the Carbon Updates dashboard. Today we are going to talk a lot about new things that are going to impact your carbon credit project, right? So basically what we're going to talk about today is the limitations of the dashboard itself. Now, when we talk about the limitations of the dashboard, we're talking about the limitations of the data that is being fed to the dashboard itself. Right now, when there are limited number of users and limited numbers of perspective with which you can visualize the data and with which you can actually assimilate your carbon credit projects into the ecosystem, there is bound to be some knowledge bases which the system itself never touches, right? Because the system itself is a structure which is made out of bits of zeros and ones. It is made out of data that's already out there. It cannot imagine it for you, right? It cannot be imaginative. It cannot be creative in terms of creating new data because we would not trust that data, right? So in that manner, we would have to utilize what we call a system which realizes that okay, the data that we utilize and the data that we process, that should be absolutely useful to us in terms of providing us a reasoning within which we can make our moves and actually also rely on the transparency and the authenticity of the data. That's why we cannot let AI hallucinate on this, right? So we need to provide the data resource, right? So if we look at our particular website right now, and if I interact on it, if I get started, it will get you this option to select your country, right? You can select any country that you want. You can go through all of this system and you can utilize any of the resources and tools available over here. But whenever you utilize these tools and resources and you want to make it available for everybody, the problem with this is you can choose to make it much more efficient for everyone else if you have additional data, right? So if we talk about the layers that we have the base working map, we have the drone mapper software, we have the carbon price estimator, we have the verification tool, we have the AI GHG camera detection, we have the GHG emission calculator, we have the Gora watts. For Nepal we have the BPAT portal, we have the climate simulator, we have the economic complexity, we have the IPCC database, we have the weather prediction tools, we have the carbon pricing external database, we have the inventory comparison between the countries, we have the NDC dashboard, we have the BTR dashboard for Nepal, and we have the 3D visualization. This is my favorite one because it lets me visualize everything in 3D, and because I am a type of person that likes to see everything in 3D before I trust anything else. So this should be the view, right? But what if there is no data behind this? You want to select this and then you can't see any data. Where do you get this data? How do you populate it into the system? We're going to talk about that today. That's our problem statement, and let's figure out how we get from point A to point B in terms of getting this and figuring out how to get to that data point, right? Now, the thing about it is we have to utilize things that are much more available, that is going to make our systems much more useful, right? Today, so what we are going to talk about today is going to impact you a little bit more in terms of providing you with resources and applying it in your system, right? So let's transition into what we're gonna do today. So today we're gonna discover and figure out how we are going to take our system and then make it into a system that actually works for everybody else, right? So what we have today is a whiteboard system over here, right? In this whiteboard system we have a location where we are supposed to start our carbon project. And as you can see in this location over here, you can zoom in, you can zoom out. This location has like different kinds of parameters. You can zoom out like this, and then you can utilize it like that. We have the AI agent workflow over here. We can choose this, I can delete this, and then let's expand this, right? So we want to make a dome, right? A dome, this is the side view of the dome. We can I can show you the front view of the dome as well. We want to put this dome with the side door over here in place of this giant um, greenhouse. So what do we need? So right now what we have is a, I want to make a box right now. Okay, so what we want to do is I want to make a workflow over here. What right now what we have is a existing um I want to select this tool. I want to make that. Yeah, okay. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. I wanna erase this, maybe erase that. Okay, so that's good. Um, Goal is to make a geodesic Toronto greenhouse for a farm. So yeah, our goal is this, right? So what do we need from this goal to actually be able to do this? We need to draw an arrow. Now to finish this goal, right? What we need right now next is a parameter, right? We need to design a parameter to solve this. So parameter is, so parameters are sizes, the amount you know material used. You want to use as little material as possible. Logistics for supply of materials, right? And it has to so why we are thinking about the size, the amount of material, and logistics for supply of materials is because I have recall knowledge, me particularly, right? Because I've been working in this area. I have this idea of, okay, what constitute to a carbon carbon finance or carbon calculation is, you have to have the amount of GHG calculations, right? So whenever you do that, what do we do? What is the tool that we use from our website? What we go is we go into our website, we interact with our website, and what we provide is we have a GHG estimator, right? So from this you can pretty much figure out the stationary combustion. We don't need this, right? Because it's a greenhouse. It's only applicable whenever we calculate it, right? Mobile combustion, that's not calculable. Fugitive emissions, that's not. Scope 2, purchase electricity. Yes, this might be one of the things that we need to add. Other purchase energy, that might be, but we need to really look at the purchase goods and services. This is where your carbon emission, like if you're making a climate resilient greenhouse, right? That's the idea behind developing that area. So the idea behind this is you need to figure out the what are the purchase goods and services that are available, and how much amount of travel, right? How much amount of business travel does that material take from point A to point B, and how much amount of business travel you take to go from point A to point B to installing that greenhouse over there. And then employee commuting and downstream activities, user sold products. How do you populate all of this, right? So you need like a goal, and you need to figure out like, okay, like how do I solve this problem in terms of building it and scaling it and figuring out like, okay, how do we get to that point and fill out this parameter, right? How do we get to filling out the parameter and then figuring it out, and then uh, you know making sure that the system works for everybody else as intended. And that's why we need to figure out the system with which the parameters are governed, right? So we need to do that. So what we do next is supply of materials and the operations material list, right? Since our website doesn't give you that for agriculture and everything else, Where do you get it from? And for me, the best place to get it from is Google Scholar. So what we do is geodesic tunnels for tunnel dome for greenhouse. So I usually do this. I'll get this, and then I'll download this. Let's see. I clicked on the first one. It doesn't have to be the first one that you click. You might have to want to take some of your time in figuring out doing this. And for this, I have a particular tool that we can actually utilize for this, and that tool is called Perplexity. And I think I butchered the name. So basically, what I have the pro version. You don't need to particularly have the pro version itself. It allows us to do uh, researches, right? So the same research that I did for um, this, I would put it here for greenhouse for a climate resilient farmhouse. My goal. So what you did earlier, you established this thing is you need a greenhouse for a farm, and let's for a climate resilient project. What are your things? Material list and cost of installation. See, this is a very iterative process. Even I don't know what the things are. So what we can do is, if you make it really graphical, right, then you start figuring out how to do all of this. So goal is this. If you make it graphical, it makes it very easy for you to um, figure out this. Now parameter is this. Now my thing is, up until now my brain is only clicking these two things, right? I only need parameters and a goal, right? And the result would probably be so you have your goal, parameter, and the process would probably be what you do is you have a uh, stakeholders. What you have is a stakeholders would be your uh, farmers, bank, insurance. Because to give you a little bit of perspective, since we have Google over here, I'll talk you from Nepal's perspective. Nepal's agriculture insurance policy for farms. So in Nepal, if you have subsidy, I'll give you. Nepal has 80% subsidy from government of Nepal, right? And let's not go to the particular insurance industry, but every agriculture industry, it provides you about 80% subsidy. So basically, if you decide to grow any kind of turnips, you want to grow any kind of farming product, right? You get 80% subsidy on the premium that you have to pay. So the premium is less than 1%. So if you have a product that's about $1,000, right? Let's say $1,000, less than 1% would be $9 would be your premium. Out of that $9, so let's say even 1% at $10, 8 of those $10 for your insurance premium would be paid by the government. So you'd only have to pay $2 for $1,000 worth of your crop. So imagine this, paying $2 basically for it's even lower than that, for $1,000 worth of product, right? That's amazing, right? Nepal gives you that much freedom in terms of agriculture subsidy. So you would have to involve your bank for that. So insurance for that. Once you get insurance, right, you can actually use the valuation of the insurance itself to secure loans against the insured product. So because the bank always looks for a collateral, so for that collateral you always have like an insurance thing available. So I'm not gonna go and do all of this calculation for you over here. This is just an overview. So basically this is connected, right? Now what we do is we go back to Perplexity, and location would be 753 local levels of Nepal. So because this information about location, right, is in my brain, so I would probably do location, location 753 individual uh, local levels. So if you do this, what it tells me is basically the idea that okay, you have 753 local levels and you want to do this, right? So we're doing real world market research in terms of figuring out. So you have a goal, you have parameters, you have stakeholders, you have location. Now what's your outcome, right? You did have a goal, but what, like how would you, like success outcome and failure outcome, right? So now what you do is I basically would do is a structure like this, and this would be your uh, governing governing flow diagram. Now you can add and make it version 1. This is my usual workflow, and from here what you can do is we can figure out if there is different kinds of tools. I don't know, so you can make a table for say success parameter. So what you do is you make a, what we are going to do is we're going to make a success parameter, success success out, success outcome would be a financially um, um, profitable business model for a geodesic greenhouse tunnel. Okay, we don't want to go to the failure model, right? But if you wanted to make it like version 2, so you want to make it version 2, you can do that. There's different kind of colors you can use using TL draw. I'm not going to go into like TL draw and how we're going to do that. So what I'm going to do is a location. So we have location. Now I'm going to use a success outcome. So everything else is a shit. My bad. You copy that and you do this. So you basically figure out this. Now we gave it a go. Let's see what are the resources it's gonna find. So this is gonna help you build that carbon project, right? So Perplexity gives you that breakdown of step by step for climate resilient geodesic tunnel solutions for farmhouses across Nepal. 753 local levels will address design, sizing, materials, logistics, operations, installation cost, and include consideration for your stakeholders, farmers, banks, and insurance, right? So you have your climate resilience, you have geodesic design withstands wind, snow, and seismic stresses important for Nepal's climate. So you got that checked in, right? So what you do is a results overview. So what you do is you copy this, you come back over here, and then what you do is a success outcome. We do a, what was overview? Why did you do it? Okay, so this was our search query, right? So what we do now is a overview 1. So basically what I did right now is I built a logic flow diagram over here, and I built this and I built this. Now for this, what are the sizes, and this I go back over here. What I built right now, what I'm building right now is basically a process overview. so that all the visual learners, they can actually look at this, and you can make slides very easily. Now, why I'm talking about slides, and why like we didn't have this feature in our layers overview, and why we don't want to put everything over here, is because you don't have to reinvent the wheel. We're just trying to figure out how to use other established systems and work on that. Now you can change any of this. You can like change like your resource materials. You can like put that as your Perplexity, like, knowledge base, and then you can make that into a system in itself. But does that work out for you? No. Now, our whole idea was to figure out things that are not available in the Carbon Updates dashboard itself, right? So we take all of this, right? Now you make this into this whole system, and then you put this thing into our system, and there you go. Now you have an idea about what you need to do. We need that. uh, I'm pretty sure there is a setting that allows me to actually get this arrow and then get it all prefixed whenever I import the text. But we are not here to actually do all of that and figure. I know Perplexity can actually generate this on your own, but we want to be able to do all of this using our own free fall non-pro solutions out there. So because you want to do non-pro solutions, then this is your solution right there. Okay, so operation material list. So we need to have like drip irrigation and all of this. Now why I'm doing this is because Nepal's an agriculture country. There's a big market for this. Now next up after this, I will show you like this PDF. It has all the list of all potential farmers who bought agriculture insurance from insurance companies before. So what that does is, so let me just give you this general notation. This is just the sidebar. So I have a list. I have a list of farmers. Let me just list of farmers that buy insurance. So if I had to describe this list of farmers, what would be my list? Would be first of all, they would be number one. They would be able to have disposable income to pay insurance. So the thing about it is, you have to see is, do these farmers, they whenever we talk about Nepal, where is very risk, people don't want to spend money, right? Even $2, if I said, would be like it's really insignificant if you are trying to cover the risk of $1,000, right? But that $2 is, you would have to really think it from perspective of Nepal, because if you really look at Nepal GDP per capita of Nepal, if you really look at it, it's only $1,377, right? So if you'd have to divide this, so you would have to divide this by 365. A person only earns $3.77 like per day. So you're practically asking that person to give them half of their day's wages in making sure that their farm is secure, and that's only for 3 months, 3 to 6 months, because the crops are going to be rotated 3 to 4 months. So they are very hesitant. The penetration of agriculture insurance. Now this is how we get all the data. Penetration of agriculture insurance in Nepal. Less than 1%. Now you can go to nepal.un.org and verify this, but I'm just taking that Google number as face value because I actually have an idea about this sector, right? So that's about 1% only. So how do you do this, and then how do you think that? So I have a list of farmers. So agriculture insurance, penetration is only 1%. Next up is per capita income of Nepal is 1378 USD, right? Per capita income of Nepal, right? So GDP per capita income of Nepal. So we gotta do GDP per capita income of Nepal. So what does this tell me is Nepal people don't want to buy stuff, or they don't want to buy insurance. They would not be able to buy my greenhouse until and unless it was make or break. This tells me this, right? So how do I connect this to my all of this, right? How does this connect? Is because you take all of this, you take this, and we pretty much select all of this. You take this and then you put it here somewhere. So you go version 2. But we haven't gotten all of this in version 2 yet, right? So we just do this here. So that's the idea. So some of the times what you do is you making it all up as you go along. There's no hard and fast rules in building like a carbon project, okay? There's no hard and fast rules. You're making it as you go along. Because who's out there is gonna make this carbon project based on your like own brain waves and mechanisms, right? There's nobody else out there, right? So what we do is right now we have gotten to a point where we are like cost of installation. We'd be like, okay, this is how much it costs. So think about this. The thing that we just like Googled and we figured out, does that really impact us? It does. See, the cost of installation. You think a country which has about $1,378 of GDP per capita, would they be able to afford something at $2,300? No. That's where carbon finance comes in. It all comes full circle to capacitate these people, to be able to give them, right, to be able to provide them a resource on how to install all of this would be something that would be ideal, right? So this is your guiding parameter. Now you don't need anything else in my opinion, but this as a guiding parameter would work. So I put it as a frame over here, and now what we do is we have 2 arrows. Now why I've gotten 2 arrows is because it makes it more important. Uh, I could go all of this, and now the thing is, can you provide me the references for the data you have provided me above? The thing is, I would not, it would not be useful for me with this. So can you provide me a list with the link in the URL title that I can copy paste? Okay, so what we do is this is it. Okay, makes it so much easier. I think there's more. There's the earlier research has 26 references. May I have all of them, please? Right? If I have all of these, may I have all of them, please? You gotta be polite to the AI whenever they take over the world. you wanna be nice to them. There you go. I think there is one that would. This tells you how high your website is ranking to, because I have a business that does greenhouse too, and our ranking is pretty low over here. So that means it gives me an opportunity to actually improve my ranking so that it shows up over here with Perplexity. So let me just go. I don't want to copy everything and make it like somebody else's. Yeah, inside that frame, right? So yeah, you see now I put it in a frame. Uh, um, all right, makes it easy, neat and tidy. Okay. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. We have a frame and gives you a references list. So we built all of this, right? So all you gotta do is download, and you have TLDR. You can preferences. You can download it as something else. Export as PNG, right? You can export it as PNG. So basically, this gives you, okay, you have your Google Map. I don't think that's not an issue that we have. That's an issue that the website has. You particularly don't need the location because the location map is already provided. So basically, you have your business model, a wireframe diagram, and then you can do pretty much everything. And then these are your references. Now, what you gotta do next up, you don't need to do anything else. Now, if you interact with our website, you can go in. I'm gonna give you a perspective on how you can utilize this. I think this is the first time we've signed in our tutorial, right? This is the super admin I was being provided. So you can go to the project developer. This is how the view looks. As a super admin, we don't have any projects, right? So you can go, and if you look at the info and tasks, there's nothing else over here because we haven't started any projects, because our project view is 0. There's no projects that we've implemented, right? So you can start a new project, you can input all of this. We're going to talk about that later. But you can upload your data, right? Like you can select an existing project, or you can upload a data over here, and then all you got to do is choose that file earlier, right? You go downloads, and you go to downloads, and you can do custom files. Let's do all files, right? And you can choose this, choose this. There you go. And then you describe measurement date or data type, because it's a data type right now that requires a measurement unit. That's why we're doing this. If I change it to something else, it'll be something else. Now you can describe da da da. This is a design map of visually describing how our project works, da, da, and you submit. I want to submit right now because this is not something that I'll be able to actually justify as a thing that would be available to us permanently. Now let me just go and show you how a pre-eternity flow diagram would look like. Now all we gotta do is go here, flow diagram for project management. See, if you don't know how to do something, all you gotta do is watch these tutorials or do that. Now you can make it something like this, right? This would be something much more neater, clearer. Now you gotta figure out who your target audience is, right? For our particular use case, our target audience is usually, we transition into uh, our website. Our particular audience is, if you really look at it, we are the government stakeholders. You have your financier, you have your verifiers, and you are the project developer. If you're looking at it from a perspective as a project developer, you can do that. But if you really look at it, you can use this system and you can upload this data based on anything that you have over here. What you have over here is your target audience, right? Who is going to be able to grasp your system. So based on this, you need to design your flow diagram based on that. Now you can add a PDF from any Google Scholar. You can utilize that. You can make it very easy for a Google Scholar to utilize it. Now we're gonna go back to the Google Scholar thing and then figure out, okay, we are going back to the idea that, okay, we have a geodesic dome solar greenhouse system in Ottawa. Now, does Ottawa remind you of anything? Does it relate to your locations? What are the parameters you might need to change? Start thinking those down. Okay, what are the things that they put over here? So they got temperature, lighting, ventilation, humidity, effects of greenhouse, shape and orientation, and performance. Okay, does this affect anything in terms of altitude? Because I'm doing it in Nepal, or maybe I'm doing it in India, or maybe I'm doing it in South Africa. You start turning your gears, right? How do you tune up all these hyperparameters and make it fit based on your locations? Okay, humidity sensors, thermocouples. Do I have that in the market? How do I search for that? Okay, we go back to Perplexity. Can you find me the tools I would need and their cost breakdown in Nepal's local market for an automated geodesic dome greenhouse? So let's go, like, be able to give you that idea. So you can utilize this, right? This would be something that you'd upload in a system that, as shown earlier, right? And then you can utilize this to pretty much fine tune, fine tune, fine tune, fine tune, fine tune, fine. Look, this is a service that we already provide, and these are the diagrams that we can give you, and this is the establishment structure. They're giving you like a underground piping. They're making an airbox, because Canada, Ottawa would relate to the higher elevations of Nepal, so it'd probably be much more useful over there. Now this is a greenhouse. How much does this plexiglass cost? Now here's the automation controller, would cost you about 15,000 to 20,000 plus. Imported Nepal, India. We can get it from India Mart. Humidity sensors would be Doras, you buy. I will not buy it from you buy. I don't wanna you know say bad things about certain product, but you buy is something that I've never bought it from. I bought it something from Doras, and my friends have bought it from Doras, but you buy something that never buy it from Doras, right? From you buy. I've never seen anybody buy it from there. I don't know why. Just pops up off the top of your uh, search algorithm. Juju Cart has your automatic drip irrigation kit, fan and cooling pad. You have radon glue and all of this. Local fabricators can design your systems. That is true. Automated shade net you can import. That is true. So your cost, now this is refining our cost, right? Now controller hub would be total cost of automation be 137,000 rupees. Now recommendations, it has given me recommendations. Now all of this is available. So this is only one research paper, right? We want to do something much more. This is in 2016. We want to do something much more since 2025. Let's see. Okay, whatever is this, I don't know what olericulture is. Okay, that's interesting. Sustainable, right? Can we? Okay, can I get the DOI for this? So if you are really new to this, we can get something called a DOI, or if it's a research paper, we're gonna get a DOI, or you can easily email the person. Okay, cultivation. Maybe this is available over here. Okay, okay. I downloaded it twice. My bad, guys. So yeah. Okay. There's nothing. Only one page. Bibliographic information. Yes, this is DUI. Maybe I wanna do Ross.ec. I don't want to do that. Maybe there are softwares which you can utilize to get any research paper for free. I don't want to expose our platform for uh, cover updates for this tutorial. For I'm gonna stop it here because I know how to get that research paper. Like I would have to email the person who wrote it, or I can go to certain website where I can download it from using DUI. If you know how to utilize that, and you can do that. But basically, let's go back to the 2016. This model, we have downloaded it, right? So let's just save it in our downloads. Yeah, let's replace it, right? Now what you do is you upload it similar to your earlier. Now what it's going to do is it is going to take your 2016 version of this research paper. And I know technology has gotten like 20, 30, 40, 50. We have those drums available in Nepal as well. Times ahead of whatever research this has been doing, right? And we can get a better system that can actually work. All of this calculation, there's apps available to do all of this. Like you can run it from like our website itself. We have like an automated greenhouse like app available in our website. So that's pretty much it. This is how you add data to something that is not available in the carbon updates dashboard. You can do your own research and add up to it. And it only took us like about 40 minutes to figure out what we need to do and how that relates to this. So now what I'm trying to communicate to you in terms of today's thesis point would be, and I would highlight this in big text and tell you, is presentation matters most. Let's make it extra large. Okay, I'm going to select this. Presentation matters most. If I had actually arranged this and presented it to everybody else, you really think that people would not be comfortable to actually, do all of this? But really realize that your user is one of these five people, and they only care about one thing when you're trying to do paperwork. They want to make letters, they want to write letters, they want to have reports, neatly done PDFs. So how do you populate that PDF? You feed it into that system, and the AI behind it, machine learning behind it, would do the calculation, do the hard work for you, and then you can curate that information, make sure that it's really quality assured and quality checked, and that is fed into your system. And that's pretty much it. That's the end of the tutorial today, and this has been our longest tutorial, about 43 minutes and 57 seconds. So I'd like to thank everybody who sat through all of this and watched. We have chapters, right? You can look at that and then figure out. The next step would be actually doing something that is much more useful to our ecosystem, and we're gonna actually show you how to do a extraterritorial calculation. This is based on how we can do research, how we can leverage AI, and then make drawing boxes and make it very easy. I made boxes, I made that flow chart, and I walked you through how anybody would research and provide you data. And then the thing about it is, whenever you research and you figure out something, you write it down, and that process reiterates. It doesn't have to be a fixed nature of an idea that you just have to be rigorous and something else. It's an ever evolving thing, right? You have to take in feedback from external resources you get and the people you get. So that's why it has to be an iterative process. And with this, I end our tutorial today. Thank you.